Hello YouTube, today I thought we'd cover another system collection, and this is obviously for the SEGA Dreamcast, a beloved console to me. Loads of nostalgia for it, great memories, a real cracking console, and it's a bit like Marmite I find with this one. I spoke to a few friends that are gamers, and they would say, oh, the Dreamcast, yeah, that was a rubbish console, wasn't it? And I'd have to sort of grab them by the scruff of their neck and drag them to one side and give them a firm talking to. I mean, this is a fantastic console, and that's coming from a Nintendo fan. I wouldn't say I'm a fanboy, I'm not a fanboy of any kind really, just a gaming fanboy. And I picked this one up after returning from art college doing my degree. Got back, I did a part-time job for a few months, and then managed to get a decent job as a graphic designer in a local company, and had some disposable cash, so I think I sold my Nintendo 64 back then to help part fund this. I didn't get it brand new, I got it second hand in the paper. Yeah, it was probably just before I joined eBay. I joined eBay in 2001, so it must have been in the local paper, and it came with a couple of games and 2 control pads and a VMU unit. But great memories of this thing. For the time, this had so much tech inside it. I mean, now it can actually play at HD level, albeit was it 720 or 480p. But the graphics, if you get the VGA cable and adapter for it, look absolutely stunning on modern TVs. There's probably about 85% of the game library that actually takes advantage of the VGA. Not all games from the Dreamcast collection actually work with it, but most of them do, and I would highly recommend, if you haven't already, getting one of those if you've got a SEGA Dreamcast, to make your games look razor sharp and really pop. And of course, like the N64, it's got 4 players. It was actually the first console, as we all know, that had internet connection as well, so it had a lot of tech in there, and it was doing a lot of things right. And again, with control pads, these little memory cards also acted as like they had games on there, albeit very, very basic LCD games that you would, you could take around with you, and then you could plug your VMU back into a friend's controller and share data and share saves and things like that. But real cool idea that, and yeah, ahead of its time, forward thinking. Got the rumble pack for it, the controller obviously. It's not bad. I do find the handles on this very kind of crampy. My fingers sort of hook in and cramp after a while, and I need to really give them a good stretch. Ideally it could be a bit fatter, and I think this is just a poor design piece of product design. That, I mean, I don't know what they were thinking there. And it does feel quite loose and cheap, but the buttons are sound. The stick's quite good, and the button positioning's really good, and so it's not too bad. I've also got, as an accessory, the old Rodney, and this was ideal for Sega bass fishing, which I'll talk about when we get to the games in a bit. Great fun with that thing. And I've got 2 of these. An absolute must for shooters and fighting games. Real nice buttons, lovely click there, and a good weight to them as well. But yeah, an absolute must for fighting games and shooters. So, with the hard way out of the way, what I'm going to do is get the games out, probably go through them in alphabetical order as I did with the Super Nintendo collection. A lot of them I haven't played, but I intend to play again. When I collect, it's either games that I owned, wanted to own. I don't think I played it around any friends, because this is the only Dreamcast that I remember playing back in the day. I was the only one that had it. Maybe that's a sign of its doom as well. But I'll get the games out, go through them, and yeah, over to the game collection. Right then, I'm going to go through these quite quickly. I've got about 85 games to go through. Most of these are boxed and complete. Well, they're all boxed. And we'll go through them in alphabetical order, starting with A. And the first one is Alone in the Dark. Now, I love my horror games. I always remember this one from back in the day, but haven't played it. It's got the pre-rendered graphics, similar to Resident Evil, so really looking forward to playing that one. Bang.io, the shooter. Quite tough, haven't really gave this too much time. Plays a little robot dude. Yeah, supposed to be a very good game. Looking forward to that one. Blue Stinger. This is a survival horror game. One of those that's so bad it's good. It's got like a little bit of a stigma attached to it where the voice acting's diabolical and things like that. But good fun nevertheless. So I'm looking forward to playing that one. Breakers, there's actually a new release for the Dreamcast, which is a fighter, and I believe it's an SNK fighter. It came out in the arcades, and it plays really, really well. Got this. This is probably one of the last ones I actually picked up out of my collection, apart from Spawn, which I sold. Thoroughly recommended as a fighter, and again works lovely with the sticks that I showed earlier, the arcade sticks. Cannon Spike. Should really put more effort into playing this one. This is on my to play list for sure, and I did buy it once, or I had the opportunity to buy it for very, very cheap, and I got a bit cheeky and sort of lowballed the seller a little bit more, and they were in and amming, and by the time they sort of come back to me, someone else had made them an offer and it had gone, so I was kicking myself about that, getting a bit greedy I think, or just a bit cheeky. But this one come up for a good price, and I snagged it. Just paid a little bit more than the previous bid. But again, it's one of those cases where you just got to bide your time, and these things do come around. But yeah, this is quite tricky to find, this one. But a great game where you can play with a lot of the Capcom characters, and it's like an isometric, top-down, beat-em-up of sorts. Really need to give this more time. Versus SNK. So there you've got your Fatal Fury fighters and King of Fighters versus SNK, so your Neo Geo sort of stuff. Not too bad. Really enjoy it. I love my 2D fighters. Again, brilliant with the arcade sticks. Whenever you do, or whenever I used to see Dreamcast games for sale in second-hand places, it would always be this one, and I'm sure you guys can agree. It's Choo Choo Rocket. But saying that, it's a real fun little puzzle game. Really good fun. Absolute classic. Crazy Taxi. Now back in the day, when I first had my Dreamcast, I'm pretty sure I had the racing wheel with this, and yeah, we had some great times with the lads coming up to my place and booting this up, having a few drinks and just driving around like crazy. Absolutely fantastic game, and really enjoyed it in the arcade as well. Got the second one, and this is, again, it's more the same, it plays really well, but for me this is still where, you know, where I hold a lot of the nostalgia in the first Crazy Taxi. Fantastic games. Dead or Alive 2, fantastic fighter on the Dreamcast. 3D, great environments, destructible environments where you can kick people off the ledges and go through floors and things like that. Very, very good. Plays like a dream today. Looks gorgeous on the VGA. And I played this back in the day, the early noughties, when it was we were all eligible bachelors back in this house, and all lads, and we used to just have so much fun with this. And I always remember one of my mates who were just one of those who would just walk in, hadn't really played this game before, and whilst I've been practicing on it loads, pick it up and he would just always beat me up, and used to drive me mad. There you go, is that one. Deadly Skies, I like the look of this one. I do like my air combat games. Don't really know too much more about that one, but supposedly quite good. Dino Crisis. Played this one not so long ago, and I found it bloody difficult actually. So I think it was one of those where I needed to play it a bit, get an idea of what it was like. And I think I'm going to go back to this and start afresh, and this time be really savvy with ammo. Just trying to, it's a bit like Resident Evil, but with dinosaurs instead of zombies, and you've just got to really reserve your ammo. All your health matters. Sometimes if you've got dinosaurs in a room, you just got to run around them and preserve your ammo. But I love my horror games, so really looking forward to that one again. Dynamite Cop, such good fun. Played this last year with a mate who came round, and we just had a blast. Really arcadey, and that's the thing with the Dreamcast. It's really pick up and play. You know, obviously it's got some more in-depth RPGs and titles like that, but the Dreamcast is synonymous with the arcades, as it would be with Sega back in the day. Great fun, this. I think this was actually Die Hard or something like that, wasn't it? The follow-up to Die Hard. But the only thing with this is you can probably complete in about 40 minutes, so it's painfully short, but you do get branching paths and things like that in it, so very good one. F1 World Grand Prix. Do like these games, used to love them back in the day. It was Super Monaco GP back on the Master System. Booted this up a few times, played it, enjoyed it. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good game. When I owned this one the first time, my god, this was so difficult to control and play. It was like a real in-depth sim, and apparently this was by Yu Suzuki, who did the Shenmue series, and he did study with Ferrari, and they really looked at getting super realistic controls and feeling of driving with this, and bloody hard, but at the time it looked absolutely stunning, and I really wanted to get good at this, but it was one of those that you really need to invest a lot of time into it, which I invested a little bit, but yeah, it's just too much for me. I prefer my arcade races. Fighters, I remember being quite good fun back in the day. Reminded me of, do you remember Conker's Bad Fur Day, where you would have the multiplayer games with all the teddies and things like that, with guns and in arenas? I seem to remember it being a bit like that, but crumbs, I haven't booted this up since about 2001 when I first had it, so yeah, looking forward to maybe sticking that one on again. Gauntlet Legends, supposedly very good on the Dreamcast. Again, probably best as a multiplayer rather than a solo experience. It's just finding someone who's going to play that through with me, maybe the wife, maybe a mate, we will see. Geiger Wing. Is this Bullet Hell, this one? I think it kind of is. Again, I've said it in previous videos where I really like the idea of being of playing these shooters, but they just kick my ass, the Bullet Hell ones, and again, it's just down to practice, isn't it? So must boot that one up again. Grandia 2, really looking forward to playing this RPG. It's supposed to be very, very good. I do want to play the first one on the PlayStation 1, which I have first though, before moving on to this one. Looking forward to that. Apparently it's got fantastic music, and I love my video game music, especially with RPGs. Gunbird 2, another shooter, top-down shooter. Again, I remember playing it. Is this one not so hard, or is it the Giga Wing? One of them's a little bit more easier to control and play, let's say. I think it might be this one, I can't remember. But yeah, I've played that one, very good, and great with the analog sticks. Headhunter, very good game. I remember playing this quite a lot back in the day, but not getting too far, because I think this was the last game I was playing when I actually sold my system to get the Nintendo GameCube back in the day. So this is kind of the Dreamcast answer to Metal Gear Solid, stealth-based, ride around on a motorcycle, cover shooter, very good game. Looking forward to maybe putting this one up again. It's in the list. This is great fun. Hydro Thunder came out for the Nintendo 64 as well, but it looks absolutely beautiful on the Dreamcast again with that VGA. It looks absolutely stunning, and yeah, just a great arcade racer. Different, loved it. Incoming, I haven't played this one, so I'm not really sure what this is, but apparently it's very good. There you are. Jet Set Radio, still sealed. Really want to give this one a good go again. I played it back in the day, didn't really give it the chance that it deserves. I think, you know, I just didn't like the style of it back then, but obviously now tastes change, and this is apparently one of the best on the Dreamcast, and I love the music and the art style. The cell shading was probably one of the first times you saw cell shading in a game. Excellent. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, another 2D fighter, crazy bonkers characters, crazy moves, lots of flash and action, very Japanese, brilliant game, thoroughly recommended. Got a Japanese game here. Now it's a good point to say, with the Dreamcast, no doubt you can get it modded to play any region game, but I've got this, which is like a boot up disc. Exploder is it Beam? Blaze Exploder disc, and you would put this in your system, then it tells you to take it out, and then you can put your Japanese game in and it'll play it. So it's sort of like a boot disc of sorts. Apparently it's quite tricky to find that now, but again, I haven't looked. I've had that a good few years now. This game is The King of Fighters 2001, another 2D fighter. Love my fighting games, especially 2D. Loads of characters, loads of great moves. Love this series, thoroughly recommended. This is another 2D fighting game from Japan, The Last Blade 2. Excellent, excellent fighting game. One of the best, I think, on the system. And in this one, you've got swords and spears and weapons and things like that as a fighter. Excellent, excellent game. Get it. Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver. Gave this a good shot back in the day, but I remember getting quite lost with some of the dungeons. But I really want to go back to this, and I wouldn't mind seeing them remake or create a new game for this in the series. It's been way too long. And again, I've got the original Legacy of Kain. I believe it's the original anyway on the PlayStation 1. Excellent game. Need that in your Dreamcast collection. Mach and X. I haven't really played it. It's a first-person sword game. I guess you could almost think of Red Steel for the Wii, but probably not that bad. Yeah, you don't really hear many people talk about this one, and this one eluded me for quite a while, but a bit of research, and yeah, it sounds really, really interesting. Very Japanese, right up my street. Yeah, another 2D fighter, and a classic one at that, Marvel vs. Capcom. But before I go any further, what I want to talk about with these cases, I mean, most of mine are in pretty good condition. I've sort of swapped them out for dodgy games and sewed those on, or got rid of the cases. But these cases, you so much as look at them the wrong way and they shatter. They're so weak and feeble. But anyway, back to the games. Great fighter, great roster of all the Marvel characters, and obviously your Street Fighter 2 characters, but not as good as this one. This is the one to get for my buck. Much bigger roster of characters, great music, great design, plays like an absolute dream. The stages are excellent and creative. Brilliant game. You must have that in your library. Murder Death Kill 2, MDK 2. I haven't played this one. I haven't played the first one. Well, I played the first one on my old Apple Mac back in the day, but yeah, really want to give this one a bash. MSR, Metropolis Street Racer, later to become Project Gotham. What an awesome racing game. One of the this is up there with Crazy Taxi on the system. A different kind of racing game where you got the kudos system, which is basically skill points for your, you know, going around a corner on a perfectly, or just passing another car and overtaking. It's basically your skill points. Brilliant game. You must have this in any Dreamcast collection. What have we got here? Oh, Greatest Arcades Volume 1, and on here we got Midway. So it's Defender, Robotron, Cine Star, Defender 2, Bubbles, and Joust. So I haven't really gave that one a bash yet. This one looked quite interesting as well. I got this one back when I got Mach and X. What's it called? Super Magnetic Neo. And yeah, it looks like just a 3D platformer, but the mechanic is you've got a magnetized head, so you'll jump in, I think you'll like catch onto metal railings that like take you around places, a bit like not like a roller coaster, but you know, that sort of thing where you connect into them and traversing the levels. It was really interesting, a bit different. NFL Blitz 2000, apparently a very good American football game, and I used to like some of the older American football games. I remember there was a couple I liked obviously on the Mega Drive, going around a friend's house and playing it there, and on the N64 I had quite a good one. But this is supposedly quite good, and for some bizarre reason it hasn't got any spine typography, so that plays havoc with my OCD. The Nomad Soul, don't really know much about this one. It's got like a horror vibe to it, or at least a fantasy horror vibe to it. Yeah, there's that one. Next we've got Outrigger, which is like an arena shooter, a bit like Quake and Unreal Tournament. Again, probably really good fun with lots of players, but as a solo experience, not too good. It's got good reviews, that one, so looking forward to playing that one. Plasma Sword, a 3D fighter, and this time it's got like a sci-fi fantasy edge to it, where basically got lightsabers and things like that in it. And yeah, it plays really, really well. It's not the best fighter on the system, but there's so many great fighters on the Dreamcast that you are literally spoiled for choice, and this is very, very good. Now I got this one in a bundle and I just decided to keep it, but this is Phantasy Star Online. Now obviously this played to the strengths of the Dreamcast console and its online capabilities. It's not really my kind of game, although I love the look of it and the character design and the fantasy kind of aspects to it, but yeah, it's not really my sort of cup of tea. And here we go, yet another fighter, but this one's very unique and a must-have on the system. It's Power Stone. Now this is a bit like Super Smash Brothers, but you're in an isometric stage room and you can use all the stage to swing around, launch yourself at characters, pick bits of the environment up and throw it at the characters, weapons drop down, and the power stones drop down, and this turns your character into a super enhanced form of yourself. And yeah, fantastic game, must have. And I've also got Power Stone 2, which is more of the same, but I'd argue the arenas in this are almost too big. Very creative, some of it though, but two very fine games. Project Justice. Yet another fighter, a 3D fighter, and this is one of my favourites on the system as well. Basically you play as high school kids, and like a football player, a baseball player, you play teachers as well, and you're fighting against each other. Very Japanese, very weird, incredible, weird, special moves and attacks. Really, really, really good fighter. Have a look at that online if you don't know anything about that one. Absolutely brilliant. You must get it. Quite hard to find though, that one, I believe now, or it's getting hard. Quake 3 Arena, your arena fighters. Not much more to say about that one really. Rayman 2, played this a fair bit back in the day. I played so many Rayman games, I can't remember which is which and on what platform, and again these are multi-plats. So yeah, Rayman series, great games, very colourful. Ready to Rumble Boxing 2, really good boxing game, very fantasy based where the characters are very caricature. Not very realistic, but very arcadey and bloody good fun. And I think this is the one with Michael Jackson and Prince, is it? The unlockable characters. Yeah, great game. Good memories playing that around a mate's house as well. But on the PlayStation 2, that version. Oh, crack case again, what a surprise. Lodos, Record of Lodos War. Don't really know anything about this one. It looks a little bit Diablo-y from the back. Like an isometric dungeon crawler, but yeah, it's got that sort of tone to it. There's that one. Red Hog, banging techno music. I remember playing this probably a couple of months ago. Now booting it up whilst a little bit tipsy. And yeah, very banging techno old school soundtrack. Plays like a buggy going around landscapes, shooting enemies, blowing them up, things like that. Not too bad. Resident Evil 2. I've plumbed for any of the cross-plat Resident Evils on, rather than the PlayStation, on the Dreamcast or the N64. I haven't got them on those two consoles. I've gone for the Dreamcast version because of, again, the VGA, and it's a nice little feature with the VMU unit. You see your character's health status in there, your heartbeat, so you got your, everything's fine and dandy, caution, danger as the heartbeat increases, so it's a good constant visual aid there and a good use of the VMU unit. But this is a fantastic game, absolutely love it. Nemesis, more of the same, not as good as Resident Evil 2, much more action based, and this time you're actually in Raccoon City rather than just a police station. Still love it, and looking forward to playing the remake on the PlayStation 4 of that one. I played the remake of Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil Code Veronica, an exclusive to the console, I believe, or has it been ported anywhere else since? Don't think it has. I remember playing this and getting to the end of the first disc. Spoilers. You're fighting against one of the, what's they called? Like the T-virus monster, the big behemoth, I can't remember what they're called. In the back of the aeroplane in the fuselage, and the doors open at the back, and I just, by that point, had so little health. I just had my pea-shooter pistol with a couple of bullets, and it was just a no-go. So I knew I'd have to start the game again, which I never did back in the day, but I played it again when I first got the Dreamcast again, this time when I started collecting, and I made sure I got to that point with plenty of decent weaponry and a good few herbs, and yeah, very good game this, loved it. There's that one. Revolt, which is like an RC racer. Yeah, remember playing it, I had this one back in the day, played it, it's not a bad game, it's alright. Rez. What a great original game. First played it on the PlayStation 2, but again, the visuals on this through the VGA look absolutely stunning. But I've got to say, the Rez on the PS4 with virtual reality is absolutely mind-boggling. So I tend to play that now as opposed to this one. But Rez is such a great, unique game. Love it. Great music, great aesthetics. Yeah, brilliant, brilliant game. San Francisco Rush 2049, apparently a very good racer, 3D racer. There it is, Sega Bass Fishing. Great game, we play that loads with a friend, and he's a fisherman anyway, or likes his fishing, and he would love that game. Sega Rally Championship, don't mind it, prefer my Colin McRae's really to this one. Probably going to offend a few people with that, but yeah, still a very good racer though. Shenmue, Marmite, I know for some. Absolutely was blown away by this game back in the day. Remember going to work in the game at the docks with the forklift and doing that for days, and yeah, kind of not getting bored of it. It was bizarre. I don't think I could hack doing this game again today. I think I'm going to leave this game in the past, Shenmue. But at the time, groundbreaking. It was the most expensive video game ever made. Critically acclaimed, but just didn't get the sales back to recoup the money. Although they did do Shenmue 2. Games by Yu Suzuki. Obviously the third one's come out now. I don't know if I'm going to be bothered to play it. I might play it later, but I've just got a feeling I've read that it's exactly the same as these, and it's of its time, and I just don't know if I can go back there and tarnish these great games. I'd sooner leave them as great memories in the mind. Shadow Man, played this one. Horror game, got quite far, quite brutal. There's like a voodoo element to it. 3D action, beat 'em up, adventure game, not too bad. Next we've got Silent Scope, based on an arcade game. Booted this up a few years ago, thought it was alright. It's like a first person assassin sniper game, shooting stuff off, very arcadey, not too bad. Where's this one going there? My wall is building here. Silver, an RPG with a fantasy kind of aesthetic. Looks really good, 3D, lovely graphics, and apparently it's not that long an RPG to play and complete, so yeah, keen to give that one a bash quite soon. Soldier of Fortune, I remember this being extremely violent back in the day. I think I had, it's the second one or the first one? Did I have the second? On the Apple Mac I had this, or the second one, and you would blow limbs off, heads off, and at the time it was pretty gruesome. You see bits of bone protruding, blood squirting out, but yeah. But I enjoyed that game. It was just, again, very, very gory. One of the best yet another fight, one of the best fighters on the system, if not the best, Soul Calibur. What a game. A follow-up to Soul Blade from the PlayStation. I absolutely love this series, and to me, I think this is probably one of my favourite fighting series. It's got to be right up there. I love the characters in it are fantastic. The weapon-based fighting is really fine-tuned. The movement, the animation, and to this day, this game still looks absolutely stunning. Again, from the VGA, it looks beautiful. You must get this game. It's absolutely fantastic. Sonic. I remember seeing the Dreamcast being demoed in Virgin Megastore, being blown away by the visuals, but I don't know about this, and I was a bit sceptical. I mean, I'm not a massive Sonic fan like that. I didn't mind them on the Mega Drive and the Master System, but this looked like a bit of a different direction. I know obviously they were pushing the 3D aspect, but when I played this recently, was it this one? I think I played the second one actually. Some of the levels are great, but I just don't like the hub world and all of that aspect, and the dialogue, and yeah, some of it's quite trite and sickly really, but I guess they're classics. Sorry if I've offended anyone there. So we've got Sonic Adventure 1 there, and Sonic Adventure 2. Yeah, more of the same, I believe. Space Channel 5, this is a dance rhythm game. Haven't really played it at all. That was part of the bundle that I got back in the day. Spider-Man. Did I play yeah, I played this one and got quite far when I had it originally. And again, it's not too bad. Or back then it wasn't, but obviously it's not going to be a patch on the latest Spider-Man game for the PS4. But back in the day, swinging through those New York 3D environments was new and fresh, and I just love Spider-Man. He's my favourite superhero. Star Lancer, this looks quite interesting actually. It looks a little bit like Wing Commander. It's got that sort of vibe, like a space shooter, and you're in the cockpit and you've got that kind of viewpoint. But yeah, I really want to play this one. Really looking forward to that one. Getting through them now. Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racer. I played this to death around with friends on his N64 with the old expansion pack, but again, not a patch on this version, which again looks stunning, plays much smoother, better graphics, and yeah, I really enjoyed this game. On to the Street Fighters. More fighters, I'm afraid. Third Strike. Great game. Street Fighter, isn't it? Street Fighter 3 Double Impact, yeah. All great fighters. This is a cracker. Street Fighter 3 Alpha. Brilliant game. Bit more of a cel-shaded look to this one. Excellent. Again, all these Street Fighter games, as far as I'm concerned, are definitely worth owning on the system. Sword of the Berserk. This is based off a comic or manga, I believe. And again, I had this one back in the day. Very bloody. This guy's got a ridiculous big sword. But yeah, very violent. Quite difficult. I remember getting a little bit into it, but yeah, and the sword, because it's so bloody huge, when you would go into some of the buildings and fight the enemies, it would always like cling and clang off all the walls. So it was a little bit of a bad design in a sense, that. But I booted this up not that long ago, and I had the same sort of thoughts about it really. Yeah, it was just a bit difficult, although I got a bit further, and yeah, it's not a bad game. It's not a bad game. Definitely worth a look. Techromancer, guess what? Yet another fighter. And again, it's got a different sort of style to it. I remember really enjoying it with robots bashing the hell out of each other. Really good fun. Toy Commander. Now this is deemed a bit of a hidden gem on the system, although was anything hidden now on the Dreamcast. And basically plays like little toys, and imagine Toy Story, and the environments of the house, so you're flying through the kitchen and in an aeroplane or whatever, and on the breakfast table, and yeah, looks quite interesting. I like these sort of games. It's really quirky, a little bit different. Looking forward to playing it. Trick Style, a hoverboard game similar to your snowboard games. Played a good few times. It's not too bad. Again, along with Choo Choo Rocket, you always see this one in second-hand stores, or you used to. What's this one? Unreal Tournament, another arena fighting game. I remember playing that loads back on my Apple Mac computer back in the day. Vigilante, what's this called? Vigilante 8 Second Offense. Oh, it looks a little bit like, what's it called? Twisted Metal, but for the Dreamcast. I haven't really played this one yet, but apparently it's quite good. Virtua Fighter 3TB, not too bad. Probably not one of my favourite fighters on the system, but still very, very competent. A good sort of 7 out of 10 game. What a game. A must-have. Virtua Tennis. So many hours pumped into that. And Virtua Tennis 2. Although I seem to remember one having the edge. We'd go around a friend, my mate Tony's, and take my Dreamcast, and we would be up getting trashed, drinking God knows what to the early hours, and playing Virtua Tennis. It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant game. Wacky Races, used to love the cartoon as a kid. Played this. It looks good, but it doesn't really control that well. Must play it again though. It used to be my favourite. Peter Perfect, remember him? Great cartoon that was. Coming up to the end now. Zombie Revenge. I haven't really played this one too much. A 3D shooter, that's all I can really say about it. Apparently it's quite good. Was that one? Right, these next few games are from a chap that back in the day, probably about 5 years ago, he was on eBay. He's quite open, saying these are reproduction games, but they were for really good prices, and I thought I'd get a few of the hard to find stroke very expensive Japanese titles, and one of these I've mentioned in my previous video, 10 favourite games discovered since becoming a collector, and the first one is Egg Elemental Gimmick Gear, an RPG. Beautiful pixel art style in this. Again, got quite a few hours into this, and then we moved house, and this is the game I was playing at the time, and I just haven't picked it up since, so but thoroughly recommend that one. Beautiful looking game. Another Fighter, Fatal Fury, Mark of the Wolves. Now this is apparently considered by many as just the best 2D fighter ever, I think, by many people, and it plays like an absolute dream. If you can get hold of this, a copy or the legit real deal, which I would love to get one day, get it. Fantastic game. Under Defeat, classic shooter with a helicopter. Balls hard, as you would expect from, it's kind of bullet hell, isn't it? Plenty of bullets going off here on the back. But yeah, I've got the HD version as well on the PlayStation 3, and yeah, very good game, that one. And the last one here is Rainbow Cotton, which is a kind of cute 'em up. Although it's one of those games, as I mentioned before, that's cute, fluffy and fuzzy, but balls hard. And in this one it's 3D, the typical Cotton games that you would get on the Saturn and things like that are your left to right scrolling games. This is a 3D game where the perspective is behind the witch on a broom going into the screen, a bit like Space Harrier on the Mega Drive. It's got that perspective, and the character kind of gets in the way of a lot of the enemies, but yeah, really enjoyable game. Good pick up and play, get my ass kicked and then just switch them off. There you go, guys. That is the my Dreamcast video game collection. Very happy with it. Probably a few Japanese titles that I wouldn't mind picking up, but all in all, I just want to get through and play some of these games. My next few videos, I'm probably going to do, I've got a pickups video coming up, and yeah, just a few other things that I might try out, and I'll be back as soon as I can to do another collection video. But until then, thank you all for watching. Please comment below and let me know what you think to these games, or what your thoughts are on the Dreamcast as a whole. As I said in my intros, I always see it as a machine that's a bit like Marmite. I absolutely love it. Again, thank you for watching, and see you again sometime.